It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. It's another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker, talking about a lot of things going on in sports. Mondays are always busy because there's always a lot going on over the weekend. So Mondays are the days to react, to recap what took place. Of course, we had college football news. Utah State learning they're going to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl to face Washington State on December 22nd, kickoff at noon. And look, it's about a 4-hour drive from Logan to get up there. So you could wake up in the morning, head northwest-ish towards Boise to face a future Pac-12 opponent in Washington State. I think there's a lot that's interesting about this matchup. And I know maybe it's not the most exciting venue, and Utah State has been there a number of times. But look, I think this bowl matchup is intriguing. I think it's interesting. It's easy for fans to get to. I hope fans show up because this is a good signal to what Utah State fans are really all about when it comes to football and supporting Bronco Mendenhall and this team and the future of the program moving into the Pac-12. But so there was that announcement on Sunday. We heard his comments. If you missed any of it, it's on our podcast feed, which you can find on our website and on our mobile app, 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. But besides football announcements and bowl games, or non-bowl games, if you will, for some schools, Utah State basketball was also in action over the weekend. Both the men's and the women's teams were in action, and with differing results. Utah State women's basketball, a couple of games in California, Loyola Marymount on Friday, followed by San Diego on Sunday. Close competitions in both, but unfortunately not able to get the wins for Utah State. And for the men, how would they bounce back? How would they respond to an embarrassing and frustrating loss at South Florida when they took on Charlotte on Sunday? And for the men, the answer was loud and clear. They responded just fine. A dominating win on the road by Utah State. After their loss, they had fallen into the the net rankings to the low 40s. And today they find themselves again in the into the 20s.
Yeah, so at 27, I think last time I checked, unless there have been some results that have changed it since about 1 o'clock. But yeah, like to be honest, to start off, like the first 8-ish minutes, I think 6 minutes of the game, because they trailed like 12-5. Kind of middle-ish of so 14 minutes left in the first half. They trailed 12-5. At that point, they had made one field goal. They were 1 for 9. Their offense was looking bad. They'd gotten 2 free throws from Adlan Elamine. I think kind of a wild layup that MJ Collins managed to make, and he was fouled on that. So they only barely made the one field goal they did. So they were a hair's breadth away from starting the game 0 of 8 from the field. They were 1 of 9 anyway.
Yeah, it's like, my gosh, here we go again.
Yeah, and it was a lot of the same. And, Charlotte was dominating the boards. They had, the 7'2" guy, Bonk, who was hilarious to hear them say bonk over and over. Bonk. Bonk the ball.
Yeah.
And so they were struggling with that. Bonk would either be getting the rebound or they'd be dedicating so much energy to stopping him that somebody else would come in and scoop up the rebound and put it back up and in. They got like 12 second chance points. I think they were late in the first half and they had like 12 second chance points or something like that. They ended up with 18 on the day. But yeah, after those first 6 or so minutes, they started getting their act together, really on both sides. Because it started with some turnovers, like forcing turnovers. The Aggies themselves only had like 6 the entire day. I think they had like 0 in the first half or something like that. 1 in the first half. So they were forcing turnovers, making Charlotte's life hell. So it was basically either Charlotte would get a bucket or they'd miss a bucket and follow up their own miss with a make, or they'd turn it over. Like that was kind of the sequence for a little bit in the first half. But Utah State was turning them over a bunch, ended up forcing 19 turnovers throughout the entire game. And that fueled their offense. And then they started just playing better in the half court anyway, where they've kind of struggled. They've struggled in the half court a little bit. And even though their three-point shooting never really came along, the thing that they did against Weber State and against UTEP, finish at the rim or finish in the paint, they got to that, to the point where, they shot 50% from the field despite going 5 of 21 from 3. I don't know what percentage on twos that is, but it's probably somewhere in the 60s. So, another good game inside the paint. What do they end up with points in the paint? 48. They go 17 of 22 on layups, 20 of 26 on shots at the rim overall. They did miss a dunk, but...
yeah. But, 18 fast break points. 48 points in the paint, as you said.
And I think the fast break points
29 points off of turnovers.
I swear some of those almost feel like they're underselling it, because I swear they had more fast break points than that.
Well, when you have that many points off turnovers, 29 points off of turnovers, your fast break points probably should be a little bit higher than this illustrates. But
maybe
they made the adjustment against Charlotte that we were hoping for against South Florida, that good offense comes from intense defense. Like the defensive commitment came through at Charlotte. Utah State was never able to really get that going, at least not consistently enough against South Florida to get themselves back into the game, at least not soon enough. And even though they started slow, they started to get that dialed in, chipped away at it. And even though they had that really slow start, they still outscored Charlotte 44-30 in the first half. They really started to turn it on and pour it on.
Yeah, so they played the same way in the first 6 minutes that they did for most of the game against South Florida. But then for the remaining 34 minutes of the game, they played like the Aggies that we saw in the first 7 games for the most part. Maybe first 6 games if you want to exclude the Montana State game. That was the Aggies we saw. And so as long as you see the better Aggies for 35 minutes of each game, this team's probably going to be fine in the vast majority of their games. And of course, there are going to be some games they're going to have to play their best version for 40 minutes. And we've seen these Aggies play their best selves for 40 minutes. So it's not like they're incapable of that. So yeah, it was nice to see them overcome that slow start. You get Carson Templin coming in off the bench to provide a spark. And as I was saying on social media, I didn't have Carson Templin being the first Aggie to make a three-pointer and doing so with 7 minutes to go in the first half.
That wasn't on your bingo card.
And he went 2 for 2 in the first half from 3, and the rest of the team was 0 for 8. The team made 5 3-pointers, and he made 2 of them.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's shot 20-something% for his career. He hadn't made a free throw yet this year. And I think after... the first few games, he was taking 1, maybe 2. I think there was one where he took 3, and he kept just bricking all of them horribly. And I think Coach Calhoun started telling him, you can't shoot threes anymore. But he took a couple. Heck, one of them was contested, and he still made it. So he provided a very important spark. He didn't score in the second half, but I tell you what, his 12 points in the first half were really big in getting the engine going. Because, I think he was the first guy to really get going. I think him, Mason Falso and MJ Collins were getting some steals and whatnot, but Carson was really pushing that, and MJ and Mason ended up, grabbing the torch and finishing the game with it. But Carson, those 12 first half points were incredibly important for the Aggies.
And there's a change in the starting lineup last night or yesterday afternoon. Just an opportunity to send a signal to the team, or just coach trying to find a different set of guys who will do what needs to be done?
Yeah, I think And it's interesting, especially where Carson Templin is played decently well the last few games, and Gary Clark has arguably had his worst couple of games and then gets inserted into the starting lineup. So it's Gary Clark and Adlan Elamine who both get put into the starting five. And I kind of understood Elamine. I was a little surprised that you make that jump, but given the way he played against South Florida, where he was playing a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently on offense and defense, and adding a length that while Tucker Anderson's 6'8", I think he only has like a 6'9" wingspan, and Elamine is 6'9" with like a 7'1" wingspan. So he's got that extra length, and is also, I think, shooting a little better from three, or at least has been the last couple of games. So he's looking at Adlan Elamine and looking at his potential where he's a true freshman and is already a rotation caliber guy. I think he just decided to put him in there and see what happened. And I think it turned out all right. Elamine had a few good plays, grabbed a few important rebounds. I think he was second on the team in rebounds, where he had 4.
Mm-hmm.
Added an assist. Didn't foul too much. He did have a couple of fouls, but he also added a steal. And I think overall played pretty well, and probably better than Tucker Anderson has been playing, as much as it doesn't really please me to say that, where we've had really high hopes for Tucker Anderson, but he's not really fulfilling those for the most part on offense or defense. And so that's where you're seeing Elamine come in and be like, hey, Tucker I don't know if he maybe got content with the fact that he's been starting every single one of these games, and Calhoun maybe sending a signal saying, look, I'll give your starting spot to somebody else, including the true freshman. And I think also maybe sending a signal to Carson Templin, who's had some up and down games, like, hey, your position as a starter is not safe.
Right. He ends up playing more minutes than Gary Clark.
That had a lot more to do with the fact that Gary Clark had 2 fouls in a minute.
Yeah, Clark had some real foul trouble really, really fast. But yeah, I don't know if this is going to be the permanent lineup or not. And I don't really care, to be honest. If it sends a signal and it gets the team dialed in, okay, great. Like if you're going to have somebody that's sometimes guys just need that moment to really kick their emotion into the proper gear, if you will, that, okay, my job is at stake if I don't do these things. Because sometimes, you'll hear the coach, he'll talk about it, he'll complain, he'll yell at you, but you still know you're a starter. Like you still have your position. But this team has enough depth and versatility that nobody should feel like their starting job is secure.
Yeah, because you could see if Drake Allen really starts to struggle and things aren't resonating. I know some fans have been bagging on him for his last few games, but this is a guy who's still averaging 6+ assists per game and plays his role well and is a good defender. But if he starts lagging, well, starts freshman Elijah Perryman. I don't know what you do, MJ Collins or Mason Falslev, you drop in Colby King.
Yeah.
There is a player at every single position group that maybe he, quote unquote, shouldn't be the starter, is good enough to be the starter, to be like, look, we'll replace you, Mason. Doesn't matter if you're, first team All Mountain West preseason. But the thing is, MJ and Mason have not shown any, lax habits where they've both been powering the team.
No, they've been the most consistent guys.
So they've shown no reason for that. But if that were to happen, even their job wouldn't necessarily be safe if coach wanted to send the message. But I think what you said, where it doesn't really matter who starts, and I agree with that, where just generally I've seen the trend where starting lineups are not this end all be all of these are your 5 best players, particularly at each position, because I've seen Utah State and a bunch of other teams in the Mountain West and a bunch of other teams the Aggies have played where you could argue that the 3rd best player on the team comes off the bench, particularly bigs, where a lot of teams go with a strategy of start the 7-footer, but play the 6'9" guy 25 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who closes the game is more important than who starts the game.
Yeah. And even who plays the most minutes, because you'll start the first half and second half. The Aggies did this with Trevin Dorius for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Where he would play 10 minutes a game. And usually
that was the first 5 minutes of the first half and the first 5 minutes of the second half.
Yeah, essentially. And then they'd play Dan Akin for 20, 25, 26 minutes. And it's about who closes, as you mentioned, but who plays the most minutes. And for Utah State, that's fluid. It could be Carson who plays, he'll play between 15 and 25 minutes. Just depends on the night. Like even in a game where he played pretty well against Charlotte, he played 17 because there were stretches where he wasn't playing great and Zach Keller had to come in because he was the only guy who was sort of big enough to handle the 7-footer on the other team. He didn't put much in the way of stats, but he was making some kind of an impact. And then obviously Gary Clark was playing some of those minutes as well in the first, 1 minute in the first half and a few minutes in the second half. But there are some games where he plays like 25 because he's having a great game.
Yeah.
And like you look at Drake Allen, he'll play between 20 and 30 minutes, and it depends on how well he's playing and how well Elijah Perryman and Colby King are playing. And whatnot. So like you can see all this variance between these players. They don't have you will play 30 minutes and you will play 35 and you'll play 15. It is a range, and it gives all of the players a sense of, hey, if I'm playing at my best, I'll be out there on the court for the impactful moments of this game, and I'll be out on the court more. I don't have a guaranteed amount of minutes because I have this status on the team or because I'm being paid this much. They will earn the playing time that they earn. They'll get the playing time that they earn. And you see Mason and MJ have consistently earned their playing time. They have very consistently performed. And as such, even in some games where they've struggled a little bit, they've earned that rapport where like against South Florida, they struggled a bit, but they both played like 35 plus minutes. And in this game, they only play 31 and 27, but 26-point blowout. So they played in the most crucial moments, and then they came out at the end. So that's something that the depth of this team has provided Coach Calhoun with. It's I don't know if I want to call it a weapon, but it's a way to galvanize his team, and I think potentially that's where throwing in Gary Clark and Adlin Elamine could provide a spark to both Tucker Anderson and Carson Templin. Tucker, he had a pair of 3-pointers. Carson Templin had a spectacular first half on offense, so maybe it galvanized him a little bit, and we'll see how things going forward. And maybe it could galvanize Adlin Elamine a little bit, where it's like he was rewarded, like he's not stuck on the bench playing 4 or 5 minutes a game. Coach said, hey, I like how you've been in practice. Here, go be a starter and play 20 minutes. Because that's motivation in the opposite direction.
Right, yeah.
Where you can try and motivate people through punishment, but oftentimes showing and giving them a reward for their hard work, like
showing you believe in them.
That's a positive motivation, and positive motivation tends, at least my experience, tends to work better than negative motivation.
Yeah, it was great to see how this team responded. Rough start, but to give them credit for like being able to step aside and the coaches like not going nuclear. I know he was frustrated how it started, but starting to chip away at it and really making life difficult, buying into the defense, buying into those defensive concepts, which they worked really hard on this summer, more time spent on defense than offense this summer in the offseason. Buying into those concepts that this team has practiced over and over and over, and just, as you said, made Charlotte's life total hell. They kept turning the ball over. They couldn't get across half court, couldn't really get into their sets at all. Utah State made life miserable for them, and elite defense leads to good offense, great offense, I should say. And Utah State had 29 points off of turnovers. That's almost more than almost half of their total offense. About more than a third of their offense coming off of turnovers, points off turnovers. So great response for Utah State. Now, with the latest rankings and how this win kind of affects things, they got a big win on the road. Yes, it wasn't against a very good team. This is a quad 3 win for Utah State, but they won on the road and they won big. And so it's a metrics game. It's a numbers game. So that helps Utah State move back up after dipping after their loss to South Florida, which right now goes on record as a quad 1 loss. South Florida currently at number 60 in the net. So Utah State has a quad 1 win against VCU and a quad 1 loss against South Florida.
Yeah, and so I think that loss isn't going to reflect too badly in the end. The Aggies, they're still top 30 in the net, and they're still top 40 by most metrics. So, it's a missed opportunity, but it's not a killer.
No.
And so that's the thing.
Unlike some of the other losses around the Mountain West.
Yeah, they didn't take a quad 4 loss. So, yeah.
But the Mountain West is improving, and we can get to that in a minute.
Yeah, they are, and we'll get into that. But I think the other thing to take away from this game is that this is not the end of Utah State bouncing back from that loss to South Florida. Because they're supposed to beat Charlotte, and they're supposed to beat them by a lot. They were 10.5-point favorites, I think, by some metrics. But, if you took out the South Florida loss, people would have expected the Aggies to beat them by 25 or 26. So this they were meeting the standard that they'd been meeting before the South Florida game. So they kind of got back to what they had been. Maybe they'd have only been like 15 or so point favorites because it's the road and all that. But still, they would have expected a high margin of victory for the Aggies. So the key is for Utah State not just to have that one game where they bounce back. Look at Boise State, where they lost that game to Hawaii Pacific, and they went on a fantastic run and have actually, they have picked up a couple more losses since then, but they were, if I remember right, relatively close losses, 2 good teams, and then they just beat, I think they just got a quad 1 win, or close to it against Butler, I think it was, so that they are now very much on the rise, and so they've taken that Hawaii Pacific loss and parlayed that back into, okay, this is the team we need to be, and they've been the kind of team we were expecting them to be preseason before that embarrassing loss. So the Aggies need to not just have that one game where they bounce back and take out all their frustrations on a poor Charlotte team. They need to go out there and take those frustrations and put them into, we're going to be the best version of ourselves, not just the game after we lose, but in the next 7, 8, 9 games. And if we have to find new ways to motivate ourselves throughout there, we'll find them at that point. But you can't just be an Avenger against a team ranked 200 in the net. You've got to be that team, going up against Illinois State, where it's a quad 2 game. Then you got your conference opener against a really good Colorado State team. You've got to be that same bounce back team. For it to be an actual bounce back, you've got to stay in that other side. Otherwise, you're just a bouncy ball.
Yeah. Was it a flash, or was it back to the norm, back to the mean of what we can expect from Utah State?
Exactly.
I got to take a quick time out. We got a text that's come in. We'll get to that as well. If you want to chime in, always love to hear from you on our Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321.
Thank you for letting Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat, the Allergy Clinic, and the Hearing Aid Center care for your family this year. Be sure to call us for an appointment before the end of the year to make the most of your cafeteria or flex funds. Located in Providence and North Logan, Cache Valley ENT also has offices in Box Elder, Rich, Bear Lake, and Franklin counties. The entire team at Cache Valley Ear, Nose, and Throat wish you and your family a healthy holiday season. Go to CacheValleyENT.com for details. Most insurance plans, including Select Health, are accepted.
When's the last time you checked your tires? Make sure your car is ready for the snow with Master Auto Tech special, buy 3 tires, get 1 free, for up to $200 off. Utah winters are tough, but your tires should be tougher. With 22 Utah locations including Logan, Brigham City, and Ogden, we've got you covered. Hurry, this offer ends December 31st. Visit masterauto.tech today.
Your trusted, helpful expert, Master Auto Tech.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air, they believe everyone deserves to feel the love. Their team is here to keep your home comfortable year-round with expert tune-ups and maintenance. From the first call to the final check, you'll have an entire team behind you, ready to serve every need. As the seasons change, don't wait. Schedule your tune-up today. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Since 1896, S.E. Needham Jewelers has been selling diamonds in historic downtown Logan. Today you have a choice of both natural and lab-grown diamonds. You'll be impressed with the affordability of our diamonds today. With our international suppliers from Israel, India, and Antwerp, Belgium, we're able to guarantee the best price. Simply magnify our diamonds, select your favorite, and have it mounted in a ring of your choice. Open Monday through Saturday 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning, now is the time to feel the love and the savings. But you better hurry because rebates end this year. With current tax credits and government rebates, you can save up to 40 to 50% off on new heating and cooling systems. So call now, 435-557-4181. 435-557-4181 with Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning. So nice win for Utah State on Sunday over Charlotte, getting them back into the top 30 in the net rankings. Illinois State will be Utah State's next opponent. That will be played in Salt Lake City at Delta Center. Yes, at Delta Center.
You know who called it the Delta Center?
No.
Coach Calhoun and the Delta Center social media account. And Ryan Smith.
Wow, really?
It's the Delta Center.
That's great. Illinois State, just for reference, currently 87 in the net.
Well, Illinois State, they got a big win in football. FCS football. They got a win over, I think it was North Dakota State, one of the Dakotas.
Oh.
It was like a massive upset. They were
the Dakota schools are out of the playoffs.
Yeah, like in Illinois State was like a 20-plus point underdog, and they got a win. So congrats to Illinois State, genuinely.
There you go. Yes. So that game reminder coming up for Utah State on Saturday, 3 o'clock tip-off. Lots of seats still available. I know there's a lot of concern about not having enough fans there for that experience. And look, this is a great opportunity for Wasatch Front Aggies to watch their team without having to travel through the canyon and come up to Logan. But folks from Cache Valley, they need their support too. It's important to have these kinds of games for Utah State. They need to have quality non-conference and neutral site games on their resume. Not that Illinois State is a great team to have on the resume, but it's a solid team. And so it helps when you have a good fan base there to cheer on the Aggies and to honestly help the financial bottom line for Utah State.
Yeah, and the big problem is that it's Illinois State. If they were playing BYU or Utah, that game would be selling most of its tickets available. I don't think it would sell out, mostly because Utah fans wouldn't show up because they don't give a rip about their basketball team. But there'd be a lot of Aggie fans there. There'd be a decent number of Utah fans there as well. Like, that draws a lot of attention. And if it were BYU, yeah, it'd sell the place out. But BYU and Utah, is Coach Calhoun kind of alluded to in the press conference we did after it'll probably come up again. I'll probably do some follow-up this week when we talk to him ahead of this Illinois State game. But BYU and Utah just don't want to play the Aggies. They didn't want to play them in an exhibition, which was understandable for BYU because they played like North Carolina. Of course, and the other one was like Nebraska, but they're pretty good. So it was somewhat understandable for BYU. But BYU literally played, or Utah literally played Nevada, and it's like, come on, they won't play the Aggies, in an exhibition. They won't play them in a neutral site, let alone ever coming to the Spectrum. And it's a shame because it's something that could benefit. And mind you, the Aggies have some karma coming against them for not scheduling these kind of games against other in-state opponents. Like, they haven't gone to Weber State for years. They haven't gone to UVU since ever.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, they should probably be doing some home and aways against those teams. Like, would you rather go to Charlotte or to Weber State, where you could get like maybe a couple thousand of your own fans in an opposing arena, get a true a true road game where you've got some of your own home fans there against an in-state opponent.
In the net's going to be somewhat similar.
Yeah, it's going to be
years.
similar. And if you go to UVU, you can maybe sneak a quad one game out of UVU. in some years. Usually quad 2, but like there's some years where they get really close to being like they'll be in that top 100, so maybe not quite quad 1 because it's got to be top 75, but like so Utah State's not exactly perfect as far as dodging in-state opponents, but at least they play a lot of these teams. So it's just there's a lot to it.
The Salt Lake Slam is what they're calling it on Saturday. UVU will play UC Santa Barbara at noon. Utah State, Illinois State at 3. From what I understand, your ticket gets into both games.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. This is the other crime. I'm going to go on this rant for a second time. I'm going to pull this back to the edge of insanity. There are 3 teams from the state of Utah playing in the Delta Center, that same day. None of them are playing each other.
Yeah, that's silly.
That is a crock of crap.
It's really silly.
Like at the very least, Utah State should be playing UVU, if not the University of Utah. But because apparently all these coaches and ADs and whoever's responsible for it on both sides, because it's taking 2 to tango, I don't want to absolve Utah State of anything here. But somehow, some way, all these people who are in charge of bettering basketball in the state of Utah cannot figure out a way to play each other.
Yeah. I get the, ideal situation is they all take turns playing each other in their home venues. But if you can't make that happen, if it's just too impossible to get BYU or Utah to come to Logan, then at the very minimum, play them on a neutral site. Play them in Salt Lake City where it's easy for fans to get to.
Yeah.
At the bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's still better than not playing each other at all.
But in that case, it seems like the fault is very much with Utah and BYU because Coach Calhoun seems very willing to do it. But again, it takes 2 to tango there. So, and honestly, I think the Utah schools could benefit from just every non-conference year, just play each other because you get a mix of bye games because Utah Tech and Weber State and Southern Utah aren't always great. Then you get some tough games because Utah State and UVU are
they're good programs.
They're really good.
It's not going to hurt your net by playing these schools.
Yeah, they're good mid-majors. You can get free quad 1 games out of Utah State playing in the Spectrum. And, and for Utah, and again, it's cheaper. In an era where you're trying to nickel and dime all this stuff to have as much money to
pay your players.
Yeah, to pay your players for anything. You can shave your travel budget by a ton. Use your designated, for Utah State, all of the whining about how many charter flights they get. Go play your road games at SUU. Go play your road games at Weber State. Especially once we get into the Pac-12 era, go play your road games at, I was going to suggest Wyoming, but apparently everyone hates going to Wyoming. But go to Nevada, UNLV, New Mexico, all those. There's so much opportunity, but apparently everyone's a coward because they don't want to play true road games. BYU and Utah don't even want to play neutral site games against the Aggies. And, Utah State doesn't want to play road games at some of these venues either because, again, they've played 2 road games this year, and both of them were the back end of a home-and-home they scheduled with these 2 teams.
5452 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Those SeatGeek ticket fees, ridiculous. Yeah, I haven't looked at the pricing on that, but it can be a bit of a challenge. I get that. And then what I want to know, though, is will Utah State, will their game on Saturday, will they be on the horrible NBA Cup court or just a traditional Utah Jazz court?
Give me a second. I'll look that up.
Because BYU had a game there on the NBA Cup court, and it was atrocious. So while you look that up, another text that came through, this is a little bit earlier, 6436. Just tuning in tonight, if you look at my prior messages from last Monday, I kind of called this bowl game matchup. Our family will be going to the game and are excited for this matchup with WSU. And scrolling back through, that is absolutely correct. 6436 sent this in on December 1st. Some projections have Washington State in the Potato Bowl. Isn't the MAC an automatic tie into that bowl? Is there any chance we could get a Utah State versus Washington State Potato Bowl matchup in Boise? And it came true. Way to go, 6436. You made it happen.
And it did. I think if I remember correctly, I think I downplayed the odds, maybe. I don't think I was... I thought the Potato Bowl was an option. I wasn't sure if Washington State was potential opponent. I'd have to go back and listen to myself to remember
The
what my
traditional
thoughts were.
tie-in is the MAC.
Yeah, and that's where the Aggies have played. I think most opponents they've played in the Potato Bowl have been from the MAC. It's like Toledo, like
Ohio.
Ohio. Georgia State wasn't the MAC. They're like Sun Belt or something like that. Was Cincinnati in the MAC way back in like 97?
Gosh, I don't know. That far back.
I don't know if the bowl tie-ins go that far. As for the NBA Cup, the Jazz's time in the NBA Cup is over. They've played their 4 group stage games.
Well, those games continue actually next week because they're into the playoff stage of the.
Yeah, but the Jazz didn't make the playoffs.
No, but you still have games. So, but I guess you still have opponents that are connected to it. Because if you look at what the schedule looked like before these games kind of materialized to figure it out, the Jazz just kind of have a generic NBA Cup between these dates where they'd still be playing other teams. It's their NBA Cup window, but since they're not continuing to compete in it, I don't know if that means that they have to still use that stupid floor.
I can't find any indication of what those games would be. Because, yeah, I think you're right.
The Jazz played Dallas on Monday, and before the season began, it was open. You wouldn't see who the opponent was.
Yeah.
But now, based on how they played during the NBA Cup, those teams that are not advancing,
they just play 2 other
games.
Get
Shuffled, and get the other games on the schedule. So
I'm not seeing any indication of I'd have to dive deep quicker than I can, or more than I can do quickly on air. Because the last group stage game was on the 28th, and I mean maybe I can. None of the schedules indicate whether or not they don't differentiate between NBA Cup games, which tells you how much that. Oh no, it says it right there. It says it for previous games, but not for future ones, I guess. So I'm I can't say, but yeah, the Jazz have, unless it's because they play at Memphis. So I guess if their game against Dallas on Monday the 15th is an NBA Cup game,
it is.
It is? Okay, then it's possible.
But these games will be taking place on Saturday. I don't know if Utah Mammoth play on Sunday.
I was just thinking that.
Because if so, then we may have hope. Anyway, not really important. But bottom line, Utah State men's basketball, they got the nice win on Sunday, get a chance to come back home and continue to work on a few things. Another neutral site game coming up on Saturday, a game that hopefully will have a good Aggie fan base there to support. But Utah State women, not so much luck for them. We'll talk about what their weekend looked like. We'll also look at the rest of the Mountain West landscape over the weekend. Jason's got the updated different statistical numbers to show us how the Mountain West is faring after kind of a rough start to the conference. Is it turning around, or are we still seeing much of the same? That's coming up next on the Full Court Press.
Looking for a luxurious local space to host your next gathering? The Hive Event Center in downtown Logan brings modern elegance to your wedding, private party, or business event. Your guests will be amazed at the glamorous design, and you'll benefit from the advanced tech included in every rental, from DIY parties to full-service packages. 255 South Main in Logan behind Beehive Grill. Luxury lives here. The Hive is your place to gather.
Luxury lives here. Luxury lives here. The Hive.
See us online at thehivelogan.com.
Winter's here, and that old car sitting in your driveway isn't getting any warmer. Turn that frozen junker into cold, hard cash with DD Auto and Salvage in Logan. It's never too cold, too wet, or too late to clean up and cash out. DD Auto and Salvage makes it quick and easy. They'll even pick it up for you. Get the most money possible for your junk vehicle or scrap metal, and earn a little extra holiday cash while you're at it. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. And let DD Auto and Salvage pay you today. DD Auto and Salvage. Cold cars turned into hot cash.
Holiday parties and events at the Riverwoods Conference Center offer a festive and fun holiday atmosphere. Paired with catering from Elements Restaurant, your special occasion can include tasty hors d'oeuvres, delicious entrees, and decadent desserts that always deliver excellence. Now accepting reservations for this holiday season. The Riverwoods Conference Center and Elements Restaurant easily accommodate large or small events. Visit theriverwoods.com or call 750-5151.
For the men and women who feed America and never ask for applause, West Motor Company salutes you. Thank you for raising the food that fills our tables, for your grit, your hard work. West Motor Company is proud to sell Ram and Ford trucks to help you do your job. So right now, farmers and ranchers can take an additional $500 off our lowest price. That's an extra $500 off every rebate, discount, and offer we can find. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Some companies pack it in when winter hits, not Top Shed. Cold, snow, wind, we build anyway, on site, all winter, all year. Logan, Tremont, and Preston, Malad, wherever you are in northern Utah, southern Idaho, or Wyoming, we bring the crew to you. Because around here, Mother Nature might slow traffic, but she can't cancel Top Shed. Top Shed, making sheds great again. Call 435-760-7766 or visit topshedusa.com.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on the Full Court Press. 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, be a part of the program on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Big win for Utah State men's basketball with their blowout win on the road. 26-point victory at Charlotte. And returning home, they'll take on Illinois State in Salt Lake City at the Delta Center. Fine. Got me to say it. At the Delta Center coming up on Saturday, 3 o'clock tip-off. Now, there's going to be another game there earlier, Utah Valley versus UC Santa Barbara. Your ticket gets both games. So if you want to arrive a little bit early, they'd be interested to see that Utah Valley crowd, if they stick around, which team they might cheer for or against. But hopefully there's a good Aggie crowd that shows up to that game to cheer this team on. Illinois State, not a bad team, not a bad program, currently in the mid-80s in the net. Is that right? Is that where they're at? Or are they in the high 80s?
Illinois State?
Illinois State is 87 currently in the net. So
it's going to be a quad 2.
Could be subject to change, but that'll be a quad 2 because it's a neutral site.
Yeah, they're not jumping all the way to the 50 or 40s where they'd have to be for quad 1.
Yeah, for a neutral site.
But it's like 51 to 100.
51 to 100, right, yeah, in that range for a neutral site game.
You got to hope they finish in that range.
But, looking at the net for right now, Utah State, their win over VCU, quad 1. VCU currently at 47. Hopefully they stay in the top 50 to remain a quad 1 for Utah State. That loss at South Florida is a quad 1 loss for the Aggies. But what about the rest of the Mountain West? These kind of a rough start to the conference in their non-conference games. Seemed like just about everybody was dropping a game they probably shouldn't. And everybody's wondering, gosh, is this going to be a one-bid league? But, Jason, over the last week or two, the conference seems to be getting better. And the numbers are favoring the Mountain West, and they're more favorable to what the Mountain West has been doing here recently.
Yeah, so every week, usually on Monday, maybe Tuesday, depending, I put out average ranks across, I think, like 8-ish computer metrics. A bunch of them are team sheet metrics like KenPom, KPI, Net. Some other ones I like Evan Mia, Haslametrics, Bartorvik. I know that's one that Jared Calhoun is referenced, and I think that one's also a team sheet ranking that they use. I'll probably eventually make another one about some resume ones like strength of record and things like that. But these are like kind of the predictive metrics as opposed to strict resume. I can't remember if Net or KPI or resume or whatnot. But basically the point is, I'm getting sidetracked here. The point is that as of last week, things were looking kind of dire. You had two teams, I think, that were inside the top 80 or like inside the top 90, because you had Utah State that was plugging along fine. Their average rank was in like almost the 20s, and then you had, I think it was Colorado State, who was in like the 60s, like 60s or 70s, like barely within range of being a bubble team. And then you had a bunch of teams in the 90s, and then you go to the hundreds and whatnot. It was not looking particularly great. It was looking like a one-bid league, and a lot of the teams like Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, New Mexico, Nevada, they were well outside the bubble. Well, this week, Utah State did have their average rank drop thanks to losing to South Florida, but Colorado State, their average rank rose by 15. Boise State's, theirs by almost 28. San Diego State, New Mexico, Nevada, all jumping by, double digits by their average rank, to the point where there were only like 3 teams in the top 90 last week. There were 6 teams, or are 6 teams, in the top 85 this week. The 6th ranked team I have is Nevada, and their average rank is 82. And everyone else is that, or everyone else in the top 6 is better than that. And that includes Colorado State, who's at 59, which is kind of right in that range of maybe last 4 in as far as being on the bubble. You've got Boise State, who, despite KPI absolutely hating them, having them ranked like 132 in KPI, their average rank is 66. In fact, a couple of metrics have Boise State as the top-ranked team in the conference by their metric. San Diego State, they're still kind of plugging along. They'd probably be in like the last 4 out right now, but still, there are teams that are putting themselves pretty solidly on the bubble instead of well outside of it, which means there's work to do. As is right now, it's probably still a one-bid league, 2 if somebody other than Utah State won the conference tournament. But it is a lot closer to a 3 or 4 bid league than it was even a week ago, at least going just by these average ranks. So it's a good turn toward the positive. It is only 1 week, and you gotta, things can change week by week. Like last week was terrible. This week was really good. Who knows what this week holds in store? Well, to be honest, not a whole lot, because not a lot of teams are playing a lot of games, but still, it'll be curious to see how non-conference finishes out before we then get into conference play and teams start beating each other up. But it is at the very least a push in the right direction.
Trending in the right direction for the Mountain West. Yeah, as we said earlier, the Mountain West may be struggling a little bit earlier on, but to get back into the conversation of not just 2, but maybe 3, and heaven knows if we could even get to 4 teams out of the Mountain West, the top teams would have to stack wins and just get a bunch of wins and get momentum rolling in the conference play.
And not just stack wins, but get quality wins. Boise State, they beat Butler, who's top 50 in KenPom.
Yes.
Colorado State beats rival Colorado. That's another team. They're 65 in KenPom. I don't know where these teams are in the next. I'm looking at the scheduling via KenPom, but not just stacking wins, but stacking good wins. That's kind of a big key there. I think Nevada got a decent. They've beaten a few teams in the fringe top 100. So, but they're stacking some at least decent wins. So that's kind of the big thing there, is that not only are they stacking wins, but they're getting quality wins. And that's where, you go into conference play, like you can't really, it can be hard for teams to have multiple teams separate in conference play because you're all playing each other and you might beat each other up. So to get these wins independent of conference play is important for, is important for the conference as a whole, for the good of the conference, as Eric always likes to say. So
that's right.
It's a good step forward for the conference. We'll see what Mountain West play has in store, but a multi-bid Mountain West season is at least still alive.
Couple texts coming in from 6391. First, Eric said the Delta Center and then threw in a bunch of celebration emojis. Yes, I did. 6391. Thank you. And then also shared a spreadsheet with us. This is from a spreadsheet I update every day. We started the year with only 2 quad 1 opportunities, and now we have 5. Yeah, so looking at Utah State's nitty-gritty sheet.
Yeah, it's 6391. I would recommend the site Bracketologists, as they, well, maybe you're already referencing that to create this spreadsheet.
But right now, Utah State has 2 quad 1 games on its resume, a win and a loss. The VCU win, South Florida loss. But at Boise State, at Colorado State, and at Wyoming are currently the other Quad 1 opportunities for Utah State.
Who would have thought Wyoming would be a Quad 1 game?
I would not have guessed that before the season.
Yeah, that's kind of
And that
crazy.
San Diego State is on the fringe of being a Quad 2 game. They're on the fringe of sliding over into Quad 3 territory.
Yeah, so we'll see. And thanks 6391. Yeah, it's good to keep track of these. The problem is that as Texter is doing, you have to. So I'm not going to count. I like making my spreadsheet. I can relate.
Yes.
I have too many spreadsheets.
Good for you. Yes, that's good.
I have so many of them. But yeah, having your own customizable spreadsheet can often be better than the way a website can format it. So I understand the sentiment. But sometimes it's helpful as
points of reference.
Basically, a point of reference to make your own spreadsheet from can usually be the trick there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to update this daily because things can change. Like VCU is going to bounce between being a Quad 1 and Quad 2 game the whole year.
Right.
South Florida might do the same between a Quad 2 and Quad 1 loss. So it's kind of the thing you have to keep an eye on and kind of hope that things turn your way so that when everyone's doing their bracketology, especially the committee, that things look good for your team.
All right, got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, how about the Utah State women's basketball team? A couple of games in California this last week at Loyola Marymount and at San Diego. How did they do? And what did the coach have to say about it? We'll hear from Coach Wes Brooks next on the Full Court Press.
Ski season is coming, which means season ski rentals. This is Mark at the Sportsman, where we have over 20 years of season ski rental experience. We rent to kids and adults. Come in to get season ski rentals for your entire family. We like to wait a little later in the fall because there is a chance your kids might grow out of their boots by the time ski season actually rolls around. You will get the right gear for your kids to ski this year at the Sportsman on Main Street in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
When the snow starts flying, be sure your tires are ready. At Express Tire, they work with all vehicles and all tire sizes with safety and comfort a priority. As a Point S Tire team member, you're backed by a nationwide warranty that includes roadside protection. No appointment needed. Just stop in and they'll get your tires winter ready. 3200 North Main.
Express Tire. Tires for less.
Express Auto, where tires and service come together.
It's cold outside, but you can keep warm inside with a quality-built, super-efficient York furnace. Count on a furnace from York because it's backed by the strongest warranties available. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, at 752-7272. Online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Over the past few years, strong and crazy weather patterns have battered various parts of the country. Northern Utah and southern Idaho are not immune from its share of wild weather. Be prepared for power outages with a Generac backup generator from Golden Spike Electric. They are your local source for Generac sales and service. Generac keeps you in control when bad weather strikes. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gsegenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. Streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. So Utah State men's basketball getting a nice win on the road. Utah State women's basketball, not so much. Competitive. They're showing signs of improvement, but finding wins still a little bit of a challenge for the Lady Aggies.
Yeah.
And so we grabbed some audio from Wes Brooks, his post-game comments.
Yeah, this is the post-game comments as heard on 107.7, I believe.
This would have been on Sunday.
Yeah, this would have been Sunday. So you would
later
have heard
in the evening.
I know sometimes there's conflicts with high school games, but you would have heard this over the air on our family of radio stations, and it's Ajay Salveson with the interview with head coach Wes Brooks.
Joining me here on the Aggie Sports Radio Network from Learfield is head coach Wes Brooks. Coach, I know it's frustrating right now. What kind of faltered there in that game? Where did you see the most struggle?
The start was where we faltered. We won the second half. That's not good enough when you get down. When you get down like that. Game plan for the rest of the season is protect the ball. As I told you before, protect the ball, defend without fouling, and rebound the basketball. I'm not a very good coach right now, and I need to be a better coach. Obviously, I got to emphasize more in practice. Don't turn the ball over. 18 turnovers, and then we gave up 17 offensive rebounds. We got out-rebounded 42-21. Not good. Can't do that. 17 offensive rebounds. 17 offensive rebounds lead to 15 second chance points. Got to coach you better. Got to get us boxing out better. Got to get us grabbing balls, picking up the ball with two hands. So that's on me. I failed as a coach. I have not honored Utah State. I have not done what I needed to do to get this team prepared to play tough road games. Obviously, it's failure. We're 0-2 on this road trip, which is failure, and it's my fault. So I need to be a better coach. I need to make sure we are protecting the ball. I need to make sure that we are defending without rebounding. we were defending without fouling and rebounding. That's the last thing. Ajay, they went to the line 35 times. Can't happen. That means we're not defending without fouling. The zone helped us in the second half, and maybe we're going to be a zone team here for the rest of the year. We got to go play some 2-3, some 3-2, play 5-on-7 with the zone, get better at our zone because we're not a good man-to-man team. But with the zone, you got to rebound. So obviously I failed, but we're learning about our team. We will be better. We're going to find a way to get this done. So that's what I got for you, buddy.
Gales and Asensio, 20 and 16 respectively from the two-star players. But, the only next closest was Sen with 9. How do you get everyone else involved?
Yeah, they have to have confidence. They have to have confidence. And we have to have confidence, and we have to take our shots and make our shots. Itana, 1 for 5. Elise, 1 for 5. Bella and Karen, 1 for 3. We need people to play with confidence and shoot with confidence, and that's the bottom line. But I got to obviously we're not good enough, and I got to get our team better. And so long season to go, disappointing road trip. Should have got one of these games, came away with none, and now we have a tough Idaho. This gets harder from here. So we got to get grittier, and we got to get strong. Protect the ball, defend without fouling, rebounding, and that's on me. And so I got to look at myself in the mirror as a coach, and I got to demand more of our staff and demand more of our team. But it all starts with me. I think the girls played a valiant second half, and maybe I should have adjusted in the first quarter sooner. But it always starts, like my favorite quote, John Maxwell, everything rises and falls on leadership, so it starts with me. So, I'm to blame, and I got to fix it, and we will.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
Thanks.
That's head coach Wes Brooks. You can tell the frustration in his voice right now. They fall 70-66 to San Diego.
Yeah, out-rebounded by 21. Giving up a lot of offensive rebounds to the opponent, second chance opportunities. Look, it's a frustrating loss for sure for Utah State. But they're in more games this season than they were last season. So there are signs of improvement. Sure, you want to see wins. Ultimately, that's how you're judged by your wins and losses. But this team is making improvements. I just hope that they finally start to break through and able to get some wins once they get into conference play. But yeah, they'd have Idaho coming to town this Saturday. It's a 1 o'clock tip. So if you don't make it down to the Salt Lake Slam at the Delta Center on Saturday for the men, might want to just sneak over to watch the Utah State Aggies take on Idaho for the women's.
Yeah, they need support, and they've gotten some support in some of these games, and they need to continue to see that because you are seeing the improvements. Because last year, they were close in like a couple of early games against some really bad teams, and then they were getting murdered in most of the rest of their games. You're seeing the improvement of this team. Obviously, still a lot to work on. They are not a great rebounding team. They're an inconsistent shooting team, but with time will come some consistency, and with some more emphasis, and you also look at the turnovers, with proper emphasis and proper coaching and again, just some more time, again, the talent on this team, which is better than it has been, will shine through. It's not going to result in a magical season, but it's going to result in an improved season, and that's just kind of the development process that we need to see from Wes Brooks, and he is clearly committed to it and is taking accountability for, he's done well enough so far to build this team up, but he's taking accountability for what have been some of his shortcomings.
Yeah, so that's where they're at right now, sitting at 3-5 on the year. That'll do it for us tonight here on the Full Court Press. Thanks so much for tuning in and being part of the program. We'll be back at it again tomorrow.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.